In the vibrant heart of Atlanta, young Jamal, an energetic 12-year-old, and his faithful German shepherd, Max, fill their days with adventure and exploration. Their bond shines as they play fetch in the neighborhood park and zigzag through the bustling streets close to their home. Jamal, with his wide smile and trusting eyes, finds both joy and a sense of security in Max's steadfast companionship, a reliable friend in the unpredictable urban landscape. Jamal's father, Mr. Anderson, holds a complex position as an FBI agent. His days are spent immersed in a world of covert operations and intricate investigations, where he often confronts the undercurrents of racial bias that challenge his professional and personal beliefs. Every evening, he sheds the weight of his badge to embrace his role as a father, offering Jamal a stable and nurturing home environment. Their apartment, situated on a lively street lined with old oaks and small cafes, is a haven of warmth and safety. It's adorned with family photos capturing moments of laughter and shelves stacked with books about heroes and history, topics Mr. Anderson believes will inspire Jamal to dream big and stand firm against injustice. Together, in their cozy refuge, they tackle tough conversations about fairness and the world beyond their doorstep, with Mr. Anderson guiding his son through the complexities of life with a gentle wisdom. On a sunny afternoon, Jamal and Max enjoy their routine playtime at Grant Park, a popular spot in Atlanta filled with families and joggers. As Jamal throws a frisbee, Max dashes across the grass, his tail wagging with joy. Suddenly, a loud argument erupts near the park's entrance. A couple is shouting, drawing the attention of everyone nearby. Streamed to the commotion, Max's instincts kick in. He begins barking and circling the area, his protective nature overtaking his usual playfulness. His loud barks and rapid movements are meant to shield Jamal from potential harm. At that moment, a police officer responding to a call about the argument arrives at the park. The officer, already tense from the reported disturbance, sees Max's large form and hears his fierce barks. Without a clear understanding of the dog's intentions and under the pressure of the moment, the officer perceives Max as a direct threat. In a split-second decision fueled by panic and misjudgment, the officer draws his weapon and shoots Max. The sound of the gunshot echoes through the park, silencing the crowd. Jamal rushes to Max's side, his eyes wide with disbelief and horror as the realization of what has just occurred sinks in. In the moments following the gunshot, the park falls into a stunned silence. Jamal, tears streaming down his face, cradles Max, who lies motionless on the grass. The scene of a young boy grieving his injured dog captures the hearts of everyone around. Quick to act, several bystanders pull out their phones and begin recording, capturing not only the anguish of Jamal, but also the officer standing bewildered with his weapon still drawn. As the video spreads across social media, it ignites a firestorm of reactions. People from all corners of Atlanta and beyond watch the footage, their outrage growing with every share and comment. Discussions about the use of force and racial profiling dominate online forums. News outlets pick up the story, and community leaders speak out, demanding accountability and a thorough investigation into the incident. The park, usually a place of leisure and laughter, becomes a gathering spot for protesters. Crowds assemble, holding signs that read "Justice for Max" and "No more fear." They chant for change, their voices united in a plea for a deeper look into the systemic biases that may have influenced the officer's tragic decision. Amidst this upheaval, Jamal returns home with his father, their shared grief palpable. Mr. Anderson, torn between his professional responsibilities and his personal turmoil, reassures his son that they will seek justice for Max, promising that his beloved pet's loss will not be in vain. Upon learning of the tragic incident, Mr. Anderson is engulfed by a whirlwind of emotions. As an FBI agent, he has always strived to uphold the law with integrity and impartiality. However, as a father, the sight of his son's anguish and the loss of Max pierce his heart with a pain no badge can shield against. His dual roles clash within him, creating a storm of conflict between professional duty and paternal instinct. Driven by a need for answers and justice, Mr. Anderson uses his investigative skills to delve deeper into the circumstances that led to the shooting. His inquiries quickly uncover troubling patterns within the local police force. Interviews with community members and fellow officers, coupled with a review of past incidents, reveal an unsettling trend of hasty judgments and excessive force disproportionately affecting black residents. As he gathers evidence, Mr. Anderson faces an internal battle. He is aware that exposing these systemic issues could put his career at risk and strain his relationships with colleagues. Yet, the father in him knows he cannot let his son down, nor can he stand idly by while his community suffers from injustices that his position enables him to confront. Torn but resolute, Mr. Anderson decides to bring his findings to light, advocating for substantial reforms within the police force. He begins to work closely with community leaders, organizing forums and workshops that aim to bridge the gap between law enforcement and the community they are sworn to protect. In his heart, Mr. Anderson vows to make the system better, not just for Jamal's sake, but for every family in his community. His efforts mark the beginning of a challenging journey towards healing and change, guided by the love for his son and a deep commitment to justice. The shooting of Max, captured so vividly on video, resonates deeply within the community, becoming a symbol of broader injustices felt by many. Fueled by a collective desire for change, residents of Atlanta and beyond rally around Jamal and his father. Protests are swiftly organized, with hundreds gathering in public spaces, chanting and holding up signs demanding justice and reform. Local activists and community leaders step forward, using this incident to highlight ongoing issues of racial profiling and police misconduct. They organize town hall meetings and workshops, inviting dialogue between the community and law enforcement. Social media becomes a powerful tool in their efforts, spreading hashtags and stories that garner national attention. As the movement gains momentum, Mr. Anderson finds himself in a precarious position. His superiors at the FBI caution him to maintain a stance of impartiality, reminding him of the importance of due process and the risks of bias in his dual role as an agent and a father. They fear that his personal involvement could taint the investigation and the Bureau's reputation. Torn between his professional obligations and his moral compass, Mr. Anderson grapples with the weight of his responsibilities. He is deeply moved by the community's outcry and his son's palpable grief, which is now mirrored in the faces of many who look to him for leadership and action. His heart aches to stand with them, not just as an FBI agent, but as a father and a man who has experienced their struggles firsthand. Despite the pressure, Mr. Anderson chooses to support his community's fight for justice, using his position to advocate for fair and thorough investigations. He becomes a bridge between the FBI and the community, working to ensure transparency and accountability. His actions, though met with mixed reactions within the Bureau, earn him respect and gratitude from many in the community, reinforcing his commitment to serve justice and protect the innocent. As the calls for justice grow louder, Mr. Anderson decides it's time for direct confrontation with the officer involved in the shooting. They meet in a quiet room within the police department, a neutral space filled with the tension of impending confrontation. Already on edge from the public backlash and internal scrutiny, stands rigid as Mr. Anderson enters. The air is heavy with unspoken conflict as the two men face each other, each burdened by their own fears and responsibilities. Mr. Anderson begins with a controlled but firm tone, questioning the officer about the incident. He asks about the decisions made in those crucial moments and the thought process behind perceiving Max as a threat. The officer, defensive and shaken, responds with explanations about his training and the split-second nature of his decision-making under pressure. As the conversation intensifies, the officer's words reveal a deeper layer of fear and prejudice. He admits to feeling threatened by the presence of a large dog and a young black male, influenced by prior incidents and pervasive stereotypes. His voice cracks under the weight of his confession, exposing the vulnerability and the ingrained biases that shaped his actions. Mr. Anderson listens, his expression a mix of frustration and empathy. He challenges the officer, pointing out the dangerous consequences of unchecked fears and the critical need for change within the police force. He speaks passionately about the pain his son has endured, the community's eroding trust in law enforcement, and his own struggle to reconcile his roles as an FBI agent and a black father. The exchange reaches its peak as Mr. Anderson demands accountability, not just for the officer but for the entire system that allowed such a tragedy to occur. He calls for reflection, education, and reform, emphasizing that real change must come from within. As the meeting concludes, there is a sense of profound realization in the room. The officer is left to contemplate his actions and biases, while Mr. Anderson steps out, feeling a mixture of sorrow and determination. This pivotal conversation lays the groundwork for future dialogues and initiatives aimed at bridging the gap between law enforcement and the communities they serve. Following the climactic confrontation, the police officer involved in the shooting faces disciplinary action. The internal review, spurred by the public outcry and Mr. Anderson's insistence, leads to a suspension and mandatory retraining. This decision marks the beginning of a broader initiative within the police force aimed at addressing and reforming their practices. Recognizing the critical need for deeper systemic changes, the police department launches new community relations programs and revises their training protocols to better handle similar situations and reduce racial biases. Workshops that include scenario-based training and discussions on cultural competency become a regular part of the curriculum, fostering a new era of understanding and collaboration between the police and the community they serve. Meanwhile, Mr. Anderson, galvanized by the events and their fallout, takes a more prominent role in advocating for justice and police reform. From his unique position as an FBI agent, he works to bridge the gap between federal law enforcement and local police efforts. His voice becomes influential in policy discussions, and he participates in forums both within the FBI and in public settings, pushing for nationwide reforms. On the home front, the community rallies around Jamal, offering support and condolences for his loss. In a gesture of solidarity and hope, a local animal shelter gifts Jamal a new puppy. The young German Shepherd named Hero quickly becomes a new source of joy and healing for Jamal. The puppy is not just a pet, but a symbol of the community's resilience and commitment to moving forward from tragedy. As the sun sets over the park, casting long shadows across the grass, Jamal and Mr. Anderson sit on a bench watching Hero scamper about. The air is filled with the soft rustle of leaves and the distant laughter of children, a bittersweet reminder of simpler times. Mr. Anderson turns to his son, his voice gentle yet imbued with the weight of their experiences. "You know, Jamal, what happened to Max? It was a tragedy that we wish never happened, but it's brought us to a place where we can talk about what justice really means and how we heal." Jamal nods, his eyes following Hero's playful antics. "I miss Max every day," he admits quietly, "but having Hero here and seeing all the changes happening, it makes me feel like Max didn't just leave us with sadness." "That's right," Mr. Anderson agrees. "Max left us with a mission too. He helped us see what needs to change in the world, and it's up to us and to everyone who cares to keep working on making those changes real." Jamal looks up, his youthful face lined with emerging wisdom. "Do you think things will really change, Dad? Like for everyone?" Mr. Anderson places an arm around Jamal, pulling him close. "I believe they will," he says confidently. "But change takes time, effort, and a lot of people standing up for what's right, just like we're doing. It's about resilience, my son. It's about not giving up, even when the road gets tough." As Hero bounds back to them, a bundle of energy and uncontained joy, Mr. Anderson adds, "and it's about understanding, really understanding each other. That's how we build a better world, not just for us, but for everyone." Jamal smiles, a sense of hope rekindling in his eyes as he watches Hero play. "Then let's make sure we're part of that change, Dad. For Max, for Hero, and for everyone else who needs it."